Yo, what is going on, Guardians, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 gameplay video. Hey, in this video I wanted to break down the build I've been using this season with a ton of success. It's been my default go-to for general PvP, and even this weekend I took it into PC Trials of Osiris at launch, went flawless with it, even though it leverages no special weapons and doesn't prioritize intellect. In fact, I even take a -10 intellect penalty with one of the Charged with Light mods that I have equipped. Last season I broke down my favorite PvP build for that season as well. It was the Devour Warlock with the Time Worn Spire and the Plug 1, but this season I'm actually dipping into my Hunter a lot more. Back in Destiny 1 I made a reputation for myself as a gunslinger, and one of my more popular videos from back then was my gunslinger equipment build, which became a staple for me. It focused on leveraging all the various ways gunslingers could supplement their gunplay with devices and gadgets in their toolkit. And I feel like I'm right back at home with this build today, focusing on the use of the young Ahamkara's spine and how the trip mines can be useful in almost every engagement you find yourself in if you play your cards right. So first and foremost, let's talk about the exotic armor, the young Ahamkara's spine. It's not new. This exotic, it makes your trip mines a lot tankier, meaning they're harder for your opponents to destroy if they see the trip mine. They'll either need to slow down and take a few seconds to empty their mag into the thing and bring it down, or they'll just have to find a safe way around it. That means even if your opponent sees the trip mine and destroys it, it's still quite useful. In fact, sometimes I'll wait for the opponent to start shooting the trip mine and then I'll immediately push them while I know their mag is getting low. This is usually a free kill since the player was focused on something else and then has to react to my presence by swapping targets and choosing how they're going to deal with me. The Ahamkara's spine also increases the trip mine's effective radius, meaning players can't just sprint through them and take no damage. They're almost always going to get hurt by the trip mine if they set it off, regardless of how fast they're moving. Things like Bacchus or a Warlock Super Ionic Blink or Nova Warp Teleportation, those will get through though if timed correctly. The Ahamkara spine also makes it so that whenever you deal damage with a grenade or knife, it'll refund about a third of your grenade energy. That means if you're dealing damage with your grenades, you're gonna get more grenades, and that makes Shax very happy.
How many grenades did you throw? Huh? Did you count them? Really? Ask yourselves. Did I throw all the grenades I could?
These trip mines are going to be dealing 160 damage to your opponents. That's a lot. Now let's talk about the practical application. There are a whole friggin' lot of trip mine kills in this video. That's not because I've been gathering footage for weeks. It's because this is what every game looks like for me when I run this build. I'm getting so many grenades, so it would be a waste not to use them. Sometimes I'll peek out a little, take a couple of shots inducing some damage, then I'll back off like I'm hurt, like I'm withdrawing, like I'm going to queue up my recovery, and essentially I'm inviting someone to push me after they saw me. I use the radar to tell me when to toss the grenade, and when I know they're committing to the push, that's when I'm going to throw it. So then I usually go high and clean them up with 1 or 2 shots from the Traveler's Chosen. And now here's the deal. Since the trip mine damaged the opponent, I've got a third of my energy back. And since I got the kill with the Traveler's Chosen, now I can consume the 3 stacks of Gathering Light out of the weapon and almost entirely have my cooldown reset. So give it a few seconds and I've got another trip mine ready to go. In other words, I can toss a grenade and have my grenade back and ready to go in just 7 seconds. That's a crazy amount of grenades that I can toss in a match. Let's offer a different scenario. Let's say the opponent steps into a duel with me and we exchange shots. The opponent then dips into cover to regen health. Most people don't break for cover and then keep running to a different section of the map. Usually they break line of sight and then they wait for their recovery to kick in before moving away from that cover. So I've gotten into this rhythm of tossing the grenade as close as I possibly can to the place that they ran to. With the increased radius of these trip mines, courtesy of the young Ahamkara's spine, I am frequently able to finish the target off with the trip mine in a scenario where I would otherwise not have been able to. This is incredibly useful in the Trials of Osiris, by the way. I got a lot of kills doing this exact thing in Trials this weekend. Getting that first pick is super important in Trials. It always has been. So being able to secure that initial body is like this. It ended up winning us a lot of rounds. And if you're doubting the capacity of this build, this week I played on my PS5. I went into Trials at launch with King Dethalion and his friend B-More while they were on PC. So I did this build with double primary in Trials on PC, and we were still able to go flawless within the first hour, no problem. And they're variety streamers who don't full send on Destiny. So it's not like we were some super sweaty team either. But getting these picks up front is so useful in the elimination environment. And speaking of elimination, there are other practical applications to this build in that environment. There was one round this week that saved a flawless run for us where I was the last Guardian standing. I got a pretty nice and honestly somewhat lucky 180 jump throwing knife on an enemy. I ran around to the east entrance of Burnout, got a quick snipe as the other two tried to push, and that made the last guy kind of back off and not full send on that push, and now that it was a 1v1. And then I was able to move towards my teammates and get the revives. A few moments later, I tossed the trip mine to deter a push on my flank, which gave me enough time to switch to my pulse rifle mid-combat since my sniper was dry on ammo. Shortly after that, both of my teammates go down trading with a super, leaving me in a 1v1 against a Titan with high ground on me at the bridge. We exchanged some shots, but he's right on top of my teammates, and I need to get them up. So I toss the trip mine right at the entrance to the bridge. Now, I don't care what he does here. I don't care if he decides to shoot it down. I put it in an obvious place. But if he stays and shoots it down, I'm going to have enough time to get the res. If he pushes through it, he dies. And if he decides to run in a different direction, and go the long way around, which he in fact does choose to do, then I'm going to have enough time to get the reses. And now we're in a 3v1, we're able to clutch up that round no problem. This trip mine literally won the round for me, and it didn't do anything but sit on a wall and blink. That's it. So you don't always need to hit someone with a trip mine in order for it to be incredibly useful. Sometimes it's about forcing your opponent to make a hard choice, and you capitalizing on the time that the trip mine bought you. Let me break down the rest of this build for you real quick. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm using the Traveler's Chosen Exotic Sidearm. I'm doing that because when I get kills with the sidearm, I can then consume the energy out of the gun and refund my ability energy. More grenades to toss. In the energy slot, I'm using the 3rd Axiom Energy Pulse Rifle, which I highlighted in the video, or in a video in late August, just a few weeks ago. It's got surplus and opening shot, and it shreds people. Sometimes in Trials, I will start with my far future sniper rifle in the energy slot, take a couple of shots, and then swap to the pulse after that. But I just kind of play it by ear. It depends on what the other team is using. For my armor, I'm using Tier 9 Discipline and Tier 8 Mobility. As long as Discipline and Mobility are prioritized, then you're good to go with this build. I'm using targeting mods for the pulse and the sidearm, as well as unflinching mods for both. Reload speed for the pulse and dexterity for the sidearm, since it's cheap with the seasonal artifact. I'm also using Taking Charge, Swift Charge usually to get stacks of charge with light, and I'm using Surprise Attack to give me extra sidearm damage whenever I reload the gun or ready it after becoming charged with light. I've also got high energy fire on, so if I'd prefer to use the pulse rifle and 2 burst people down a lane with the pulse, I've got that option too. So lots of options with this setup for how I want to take any scenario. The series of engagements in the B flag room of Exodus Blue in this gameplay really shows off the utility of this build a lot. It's constant grenades to lock down the room with lots of walls to choose from. I'm constantly consuming stacks of gathering light with the sidearm and chaining ability damage for fast regeneration. This build, when used correctly, can control an area of the map in a way no other build can. It's one of the most thoughtful and intuitive ways to play PvP across lots of different approaches that I've taken. I absolutely love the tactical analysis of the situation in real time and being able to formulate a plan and execute it in real time. This is the kind of gameplay that really makes me love Destiny. The build crafting is unreal right now with all of the mods and perks and exotics that we've been accumulating over the years. Try this one out. Let your brain get used to thinking about angles and baiting and trapping, the way a hunter was designed to be played. Thanks for tuning in and watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like on it, as that is the best way to support content creators here on YouTube for free. So thank you so much to all of our channel members as well. You guys are rock stars. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the Crucible.